Hi, do you consider yourself a coding beginner? Good, because this video is going to help you improve. Have you ever had this brilliant idea of creating your own coding project, but after some time you get completely lost, you think you're a noob and your whole code is complete trash? Or maybe you've watched tons of tutorials, but after some time when working on your own project, you still can't move along and you feel you're getting stuck. Yeah, we've all been there. That's good. Because the problem is that you're not incapable of doing that. The problem might be that you are choosing the inappropriate approach for your skill level. And actually, the most tutorials don't show the real process of creating a project and probably have all the code written on the secondary screen or somewhere in the background. You have to choose the approach and the project for your skill level. So today we're going to talk about how to plan the code project better, especially for beginners. We're going to create a little algorithm and we're going to go down the path of creating an actual project. It's going to be the Hangman. Wait, not this one, the Hangman. Simple game, which is very good for beginners, yet it doesn't have any large complexity in it. And we're going to create this game in Java. But before we move on to coding, we actually have to take a look at how to plan the code project better. So let's slow down a bit and jump into the water of planning. So the first thing we can talk about is the types of projects and types of ways, types of approaches that we can take when creating a project. So the first one is a chaos, or in programming engineering, it's called the Big Bang approach. This is when you just go. You don't plan too much, you don't think about it previously, you just start, you create it from top to bottom. And this is a very good approach when the project is easy for you. You can keep all the ideas, all the algorithms in your head, and you don't need to write down anything, take any large notes or something. You just go. And obviously, a lot of new beginners, a lot of students really like this approach because, well, you just go at it. But the downside to this is if you can't keep everything in your head, all the algorithms, all the functions, the data types, data styles, and everything, it's going to make a mess. It's going to be a chaos. And actually, this approach is the one that beginners or newcomers should stay away from. The second one is a modular approach. This is for projects where you can create separate things completely separately from each other and create and test them, and only at the end you bring them all together to create a bigger project. In real life, it could be something like, for example, a web store. You can create a landing page on one side, maybe the filtering on other, maybe your cart, and then the payment process, the review page. You have all these different modules that don't need to interact too much between them to create the basics of them at the beginning. And only when all of them are done, you can bring them all together to create a wonderful web store. But this is usually for larger projects. For most projects, the best approach is the prototype to product approach. And this is when, at the very beginning, you create just a prototype that doesn't have all the functionality, and you just build the functionality step by step onto this prototype. And in real life, it's something like kitchen in the store, right? You see everything, you see how it would look, but you can't actually wash the dishes or cook any food because there's no electricity or running water. Everything's there, but not the full functionality. Maybe there are some parts, right? You can open or close some compartments, but not everything that you would need to be. And so this sort of works like this. You start with the idea. Obviously, you have some kind of idea. You want to build some project. So you have some kind of end goal of how your project is going to look like, or you hope it's going to look like. After the idea, you're going to bring it to the prototype. So you're going to create small, or the couple of these building blocks, the bigger parts, to see how the big structure is going to look. Right? You're not going to build everything in the car, just wheels, maybe a seat, maybe a roof if you need it, sometimes not, and maybe just put down the box for an engine. Right? The big blocks, sort of the big idea. After that, you're going to start adding a bit of functionality in these prototype blocks, in one place, in another place, and slowly start bringing it all together to create a nice functionality. And when this is done, you obviously, probably in most projects, are going to need improvements. And improvements are going to come down as new layers of complexity, right? When the basics and the first idea is done, then you're going to add a little bit more, maybe reading from a file, maybe saving something into a database, maybe more complex data structures, something. And after knowing that you'll need some improvements, you're going to go back to the prototype, improve it a little bit, again, add a little bit of this functionality, and slowly add these layers of complexity until the whole project in your mind is finished. This is everything is wonderful, and we could start working on this, but we have to answer the big question: why? Why would we do this? Why not just have this chaos? And why should I believe you that everything's going to be chaos? And why shouldn't I just go at it from the beginning to the end? Well, the great part is that with this approach, you can actually start any project that you want, because you only need the basics at the beginning. Only these big couple of building blocks, maybe 5, maybe 10, depending on the project, and then you're slowly going to build upon that. Because you don't, even if the project is completely crazy for you, you think it's impossible to create, once you start only with the big prototype and dig into the functionality slowly, step by step, it's not going to be that hard at the end. And if you start with only the bigger blocks, which are going to be the methods or functions, your actual code structure is going to improve significantly. Because if we have only empty methods and only method names, you're going to want to start creating them properly. Not function A, B, or C, or everything in the macaroni code in one function, right? Everything is going to look more structured because you only have these blocks at the beginning. And with the better coding structure, we will have proper naming conventions, because if we have only empty function, we're going to want to name them properly. And it's going to be easier to keep track and easier to adjust and improve later when we add this additional complexity or functionality. But the best of the best in here is that we are going to practice problem-solving skills, no matter if it's for coding or real life or anything else. If you learn how to break down the problem into as small pieces as you can and then attack each of these pieces separately, these bigger problems are just going to be a list of tasks instead of a problem, right? And this is the way how you practice problem solving. And having this approach is an excellent way how to practice. And the last question is how? How are we doing this? And to answer that, we have to turn to our coding tools and see actually the things in real life. So I'm going to go to Eclipse. I've created an empty project, nothing here. Let's start. So what we learned from the beginning is that we start with the idea, then we add the prototype, then the functionality, and then the improvements. So we have to start with the idea. We can do that in some kind of notes. We can do that in our coding editor, whatever. It doesn't matter too much. So if we have the coding, the Hangman game, how are we going to start? So obviously you can have different ideas, different approach for this project, but here's how I would do this. So the first thing I would like to have is list of words, right? Because I don't want the user to play the game every time and have the same words. So we have the list of words and we want to load them into a program. Just load them. It can be from the web, from file, or maybe just hard-coded into an array or a list or something like that. So first we're going to have the list of words. After we have the list of words, we're going to have to choose a word. And the best approach, I think, is to have it chosen randomly, right? So every time we run a program, there's a different word to meet us. So after we have the word, we can present it to the user, but we don't know who's playing. So I think a good approach is to have the user's name input, right? Hey, what's your name? Let's play the Hangman. So it's like a two-way street, not just information printed out on the console. So we're going to have the username input, and then when we know the word, when we know who we're playing with, let's say we randomly chose the word magic, or let's say magical. I think the first thing we need to do is actually prepare for the game, because we're not going to show him, hey, you're guessing the word magical. We're going to show maybe something like this, right? This is my idea. We're going to show the first letter and then all the spaces for all the letters. Maybe something like this. Or I think that the approach with dash is a little bit better, because in the console it's easier to see because there are spaces in between, so we can actually see how many letters there are in the word. So we need to do something like this, maybe set up how many lives the user has. We can say that this is a prepare for the game and prepare the guessing word, right? The word that's going to be shown for the user with all these dashes in the middle. So that's the next one. After the user knows everything, probably we want to print the guessing word. We might exclude this one, but as a Hangman is pretty simple game, we're going to show all the algorithm, the whole idea in here. So we're going to print the guessing word, show the user, hey, this is what you have. Now give me your guess. So obviously the next one is input the guess, the user guess, inputs like from console. After he has his guess, we probably have to check if guess, I don't know, is correct, for example, or good or whatever. And according to that, if it's yes, we can dig into here. So if yes, then reveal that letter or letters, right? Because if the where was the word? So let's say we have this magical again, and the user and the word in the beginning is like this or this. After the user guesses the letter A, we don't want to just reveal this one. We want to reveal all the letters in the word like that. I think we're missing one dash. So all the A letters will be shown. So we want to reveal, if the user guessed the letter A, we want to reveal all the A letters in that guessing word. And if the user didn't guess correctly, then probably we want to, I don't know, remove a life and draw the Hangman. Right, so this actually would be not just a word guessing game, but actually the Hangman when we are drawing the Hangman down from the top. So this is it. After guessing, what's the next thing that would happen? We're probably going to guess again, right? So this is going to be a loop. We're going to go back to the beginning and say, hey, guess again, and check the input and so on. And the question is, for how long are we going to do that? Probably until the word is guessed, right? All the letters are revealed, or let's say lives equals 0. When no more guesses are left, and then the game is over. And then we can say the game is over. You won or you lost. One of these is going to be printed out. And then at the end, something that we might want to add is, do you want to play again? Maybe we're going to add it. This is something that we might want. Right? I think the whole idea is created. I think we know what we want to have in our project. Now our goal is to create the step number 2, which is the prototype. Right, so we have the idea, let's go to the prototype. And the prototype is going to be simple, empty methods, the bigger building blocks. So we want to load words. So if we create it like in here, so static void load words. Simple empty method, we can add maybe a comment what's going to be in there. So load words, maybe we can say from a file. If we're going to have the list of words, we might, I'm always going to say might, because this is only my approach. Every game might have something a little bit different. So we might have maybe a list of words. If we are comfortable in adding this right at the beginning, we can say static, maybe array list, words list equals new array list of string. We import the array list, and now we have actually the words list. We're going to add the words here. What's next? Choose a random word. So static void choose random word. Again, just an empty block. And for that, I think we're going to have a variable for the word that user needs to guess. So again, we can add that static string word. And then we can say choose from the list. What's next? After choosing word, getting user's input. So this is going to be a static, maybe void get username input or something like that. Maybe you can already say, hey stranger, what's your name? And then get the user input. And then maybe welcome to the Hangman or something like that. We can add these simple things at the beginning. We might not, but that's just a very, very simple beginning. Probably we're going to need, again, a variable for this username. Right? And these things, these class variables that we are adding for our project, this just comes naturally. Obviously, we're going to load words. We're going to need a list of words. We're going to choose a random one. We're going to want to save them into a variable. If we're going to have a username input, again, a variable for that one as well. So we have these ones. Now we need to prepare the game and prepare the guessing word. Nothing too complex. As we probably don't know what we're going to add there, we're going to create simply prepare game. Maybe prep the word and maybe something else. We don't know yet. Now we might have to create a method print guessing word. So that's another one. As we have this word, we're probably going to have another variable for the guessing word. I don't know if that's the best word, the best name for the variable, but well, let's just have it. And then we can, for now, think that this is what we're going to have, just print the word. Now we're going to need a user input from the console. What's going to happen? So static void, or maybe that's not going to be a void, that's actually we're going to return this, but maybe not. So let's just have this as a void, because we don't know the whole structure of our project yet. We're just going to create these empty elements. So static void get user guess probably is a good idea. So I don't know, guess a letter, something like that. And as we're going to have these username and guess inputs, we're probably going to need an object that's going to work with the user input. So input equals new scanner and system in. This is a classic for scanner for input from the console that as beginner you should know about that. So we're just going to create the object, nothing too fancy here. Print the guessing word, input the guess. Now we have to check if the guess is correct. So this is static. This is definitely going to be Boolean. Is guess correct? And for that, we're going to pass probably the guess, the letter that the user tried to input. That's just going to jump up. And then we're going to just, for now, return true, but check if guess is okay. So if there's actually a letter like that in the word. So, but just the prototype for now. And then if something, then we need to reveal the letter. So static void reveal letter, and we're going to pass the letter that we're going to need to reveal. Maybe it's going to be a string, maybe a char. We'll see about that later. And what else? Remove alive and draw Hangman. So we can say static void, maybe incorrect guess. Maybe something like that. So wrong and then something at the end here. So maybe remove alive, draw Hangman. This is sort of the idea that we have. As we're going to remove alive, as we're going to have these lives, we probably need, again, a variable for that. So static int lives. I'm not going to add any value for now, but just we're going to have it. And then we're going to loop again until the word is guessed. And then after the loop, the game is going to be over. And then after that, we're going to check to play again. So we already have these building blocks. Now we sort of need to put them together. So just in the main method, we're going to load words. Then we're going to choose a random word. We're just going to call these methods that we just created. Get username input. After that, we're going to prepare the game. After that, we're going to print the guessing word. Just let's have them all. Get user guess as it's returning. No, it's not. Let's say that we are returning the value, just an empty string for now. And so string guess is going to be that user guess. And then we're going to say if, what was the method? Is guess correct? If the guess is correct, then we're going to do something. We're going to reveal the letter that guess that user tried. If not, then we're going to say that's incorrect guess or remove alive, or we can change this method name. Maybe it's not the best as well. After that, we needed to let the user guess again. So we're probably going to have these things inside a loop. So we can start with the do while loop, which is a pretty good one for this idea. So do while loop, while we can say, just for now, lives equals 5, while lives is larger than 0, while we still have lives to guess, or maybe we can say has 1, or has 1 equals false. So while we still have lives and the user hasn't won, we're still going to ask the user to guess again. So we're going to need this has 1 method as well. So static void has 1. No more letters to guess. And this is going to be a Boolean, obviously. Return true. So I think we're finished. And maybe here play again, but we're going to leave it for later. The good thing for most code editors is if you add the comment starting with to do, it's going to leave a mark here and leave a mark on the right side as well, or anywhere else, depending on a coding editor. So if you add these multiple to do comments inside your code, you're going to be later, when you're scrolled away, you see, oh, I have 2 to-dos left. You can click on them and get back to the place where you haven't implemented everything yet. So that's the way how you can structure your comments as well. So we have done with the prototype. Let's start adding some functionality. So load words. What can we do? We might want to load from a file, but we're going to want to start with a simple functionality at the beginning, right? Nothing crazy, super complex at the beginning. So let's just say, as we have this list of words, let's just add a couple of words. Just add, let's say, magical. And what else? Let's say a doggo. And let's go with the temperature. Let's add another one, just the last one, a tutorial. A very popular word in the coding world. So we have that one just for now, a simple one, but it works, right? We load a list of words inside our program. Now we have to choose a random word. And this is a nice way how to work with help from the internet, right? Because let's say you want to create a Hangman game. if you try to work it in a form of chaos in the Big Bang way, you might want to write online how to create a Hangman game in Java, because then you're going to see a full code probably, because this game has been created thousands of times, but you're not going to see the work that you need to put in. But if you break down these problems into smaller pieces, you can ask Google just these little things, like how to choose a random something from a list. Or maybe you have to take 1 from 0 to 3rd inside this list, but you have to randomly choose a number from 0 to 3. So then you can ask how to choose a random number between like 2 elements in Java. You're going to ask these simple things that are going to improve your skill level in programming, but it's not going to tell you or do everything for you. You're going to still think on your own, but you're just going to ask for this little help. And so this can be done with the random, of course, and import the random, and then say int random number equals random, and we're going to call the method next int. And 1 is just a random integer, but in here with this method we can call it with the bound, which is the maximum number that can be found, and this is going to be words list size, right, from 0 to that size. And if we have this number, we can say that the word equals from the words list, we get the element by that random number. We can say random index. It's going to be a little bit better. Random index. Of course, we can make this code shorter and these 3 lines, but for the beginner, this is pretty much fine to have this sort of lines of code. Okay, we've chosen the random word. What can we do here? Get a username input. Okay, we have this scanner for the input from console, so we can say, hey stranger, what's your name? So the username that we've defined previously equals the input next line. And here we can probably say to do check if input is normal. Right, the length, the symbols, and something like that. So you might want to say, hey, if you input the 1 letter, it's not a normal username or something like that. But for now, we're just going to have a simple functionality. Okay, this is what we have, username. The next one, prepare the game. Now we have to figure out what do we need to prepare the game. We might not still know what it is. We might want to say that lives are not here. We want to, if we prepare the game, we want to say that lives equals 5, maybe in here. So this is the beginning, but we still don't know everything that we need to do, so we can skip this one and move on with something else. Print the guessing word is fine. Let's check if the guess is correct, although we can't do that if we haven't prepared the guessing game, the guessing word. So probably we need to prepare the guessing word beforehand, but this is something that you can, if you've created this prototype, you can jump between these methods. You start with something that's easier. Probably revealing the letter is going to be pretty complex for the beginners. So you can leave this one to the very end. Just fill in the blanks in different places. Once you feel comfortable that you put different other puzzle pieces together, you can then turn to the hardest part. So what are we going to have? Let's say if we have the word equals magical, we're going to need to have the guessing word, so G word. Let's start with this, go with the same idea. The first letter is known, and then everything else are dashes. Again, working with strings, many ways on how to do that, but we can say that the guessing word equals from the word substring from 0 to first, so the first symbol. And then one way how we could do that is word substring from the first until the end, and then replace all, and using a regex and replacing every symbol with the dash. This is one approach, pretty good one. Or we can actually go with a wonderful method called repeat, we are going to repeat the dash for word.length -1 times. So -1 because we have the first letter as the M. So this is another idea. Anything else that you feel that you understand the best, use that approach for that. So we prepare the guessing word. We have 5 lives, everything's fine. We move on, we printed the guessing word. Now we need to get the user input. So we can say string guess equals input, obviously next line, whatever. We can just take everything and say if guess length is not 1, then we're going to say, hey, input again, or something like that. But as we need to input again and ask him again, it's going to be a do while loop, right? Because we're going to loop until he inputs everything correctly. So we're going to do while. So while this, and then we're going to say guess equals that input from user. We're going to define this word beforehand, this variable before the loop, and then we're going to guess this this value up until the point when the guess is finally one word, and one letter, and then we're going to repeat that, return that guessed letter. So that is one we have. We might want to improve that. Might want to say, hey, this is not one letter. Please input something better. Improve it sometime later. So maybe to do, make it prettier, so the user actually knows what to do. Let's move on. Check if the guess is correct. So let's say we have, again, the word is magical, the guessing word is M, and then these dashes. So if the user guesses, let's say X, it's not going to be correct because the letter is not there, or the Y or K, for example. But if the user guesses A, it's correct because it's in there. But one thing we have to note is that the M wouldn't be a correct guess because M is already in the guessing word. It doesn't matter that it's here, it should be here, but not in here. So this is exactly what we could return. So if word contains this guess and guessing word contains guess equals false, or if we want to write it in shorthand, we use the not symbol, so not contains the guess. This is the other way. And we can simply return this, this condition. It's going to return true if the word contains the guess, but the guessing word doesn't. So this is the way how we can leave it right now. We're going to skip this one, so let's go with the to-do. Well, fill it in. This is the main stuff that we need. And then incorrect guess is probably, we can say lives minus. We're just going to remove 1. That one we have. And just to draw a hangman, maybe we can do this at the end or at some point when we don't want to write the code. We want to figure out how are we going to draw the hangman, probably with the console printouts. Now, if the user has no more letters to guess. Well, this one, again, could be done in multiple ways, but one way is guessing word contains a dash is false, so doesn't contain the dash. If all the dashes will be replaced with actual letters, then user has 1. Probably this is one way how to do this. Another way, just figuring out, in here, we can not just make it prettier, but add another to-do, which is a fine way to do that, is not allow to guess the same letter twice. If you have guessed the letter M, it doesn't allow you to submit this M as a guess. So this is another thing that we want to add in here. And for that, we might want to have we can just say to do set of guessed letters. Just going to add it later on. So the last thing we have to create is reveal letter for the basic functionality. This might be a bit more complex. You might ask for the internet or yourself or your friends for help, think for longer, but the idea might be, well, there are many ideas of how to do that. So again, once you want to start with a smaller problem with this method, you again want to, if this is a complex problem, just write down the idea of what needs to happen. So we have magical, we have AJICAL, and then we have this letter, let's say equals A. Then you want to make it into a something like this. So you want to reveal the letter. If you show yourself, at least inside a comment, what you want to achieve, it's going to be simpler for your mind to understand what you need to do. So probably you want to go through all of these letters, or all of these letters, just go through letter by letter and see if the guessed letter is at the position of the initial word, and then put the letter inside the guessing word. So what could it be is, we can go with the for loop. Again, probably multiple ways on how to do that. So word.length, and we can say, instead of having a string letter, at least for here, we can say char letter equals letter, just char at 0. It's going to be fine because it's always going to be one letter. So char word letter equals word char at this I position. And again, if this is too complex, you can remove everything else and just call this one method and try to nail it down to perfection. And if it's again too hard to write all the algorithm, just have a printout of understanding what's a let, what are you having as the word let, right? What is the letter that you're passing? Try to understand all the variables and slowly put them all together. You might want to write down a separate algorithm just for this method. So we have this word letter, and we want to check if it's equal to this one or actually the letter. So if the letter equals, the word letter, then this means that we need to replace the dash with this letter. So we're going to have to say the guessing word. As we're going to replace the values in the guessing word, we're going to need a new variable. So let's call it a new guessing word, which is going to be an empty string. And then we're going to say if it's equal, then we're going to need another variable. So char, let's say adding. By default, it's going to be the same as it was in the guessing word, char at index. But if we are finding that this word is in the letter, then we're just going to say that the adding char is going to be the word letter, or the let, whichever one we want. And then we're going to add this to a new guessing word. The plus equals the adding character. I don't know how to code anymore, so this is fine. Once we've created everything, we're going to say guessing word equals the new guessing word. So if we go down sort of step by step, we're going to go through each letter of the initial word, the full word with all the letters. The word letter is going to be each letter from this one. And the symbol, the one that we need to add to the new guessing word, is going to be each symbol from here. Only if the letter at the word matches the letter that user guessed, we're going to replace the previously had symbol in the guessing word with the actual letter. So if it was an M, it stays as it was. If it's A and the user guessed A, the dash is going to be replaced with the A, and sort of we move on. And then again here we replace the dash with the A, and so on. If you go through step by step, you're probably going to get it more in detail. So after this, the bigger method in here, we can go through everything and see that the basic functionality is there. So now we probably, after just a couple of steps before, we might have run this program to see that it actually works. But in here we can just do it at the very end. And let's just go through everything. Hey stranger, what's your name? Let's say, I don't know, James. So we are guessing something like that. We can already stop the program and run it again to see we are having these random words, right? So the randomization works already. Did we implement this idea of having a one letter? So we did. So we can test that one out. Something doesn't work right. So probably what's happening as we are waiting for an input again, it means that the input loop is working, but the text is not repeating. So we probably need it back in here. And so if we had everything inside one main method, it's going to be hard to understand. But as we see, okay, here we have a problem with guessing a letter. So probably it's inside this method. So we don't need to look outside of it. We only need to look into these, 5, 6, even without the return, only these 6 lines of code, right? It's a lot easier to spot the problems, spot the issues. So let's go again. Let's say Jimbo, guess a letter, something long. It's wrong, so we're going to need to guess a letter again. So let's go with the letter E. So it's going to reveal the letter. Everything's fine, everything's working correctly. If we say Q, it's wrong, and probably we're going to need to show how many lives we have left. Again, how to implement that? Go to the place where it says wrong, when we remove a live, and say, we can add these ones together. So say, wrong, you have lives, let's say guesses left. Right, so the user actually sees how close to death he is. And again, let's go with the Jimbo. Let's go with the R, everything's fine. W, wrong, you have 4 guesses left. Let's go with the Q, wrong, you have 3 guesses left. So everything's fine. If we guess the bad ones, you have 0 guesses left. Now -1 guesses left. So something doesn't work here. What it is, it doesn't stop at the right point. So where we have to go at the point where it asks us to play again, right? To guess again. So it's this one. So now we have to look in here only in this particular position, not try to find the wrong place everywhere. So while the lives is larger than 0 and hasn't won, but we have checked with the OR. So this has to be the AND. So we still have guesses and we haven't won. So we change the OR to the AND, and we can go again, say Jimbo Jumbo today, and oh, we have Doggo here. So let's get at least one letter correct. So the F, D, V, C, something, you have 0 guesses left, and the game is over, right? So now it correctly understood that the game is over. Now, it doesn't say anything, so probably we need to, before the play again, we need to do determine won or lost. So we can do that again with the has won method. So if has won, we can say congrats, username, you won. If he hasn't won, then probably you lost, loser. The word was and then the word that user was guessing, the word. So now we are revealing something at the very end. So let's go again, something, let's guess a letter. Everything's fine, so you have 0 guesses left, you lost, and the word was tutorial. You can actually add these single quotation marks so we can actually see what the word was. So now we know that the basic functionality works. Now we can improve everything step by step. So we can close the console, and maybe, yeah, we should do this as a to-do. So maybe have this one. This one we implemented. We have functionality. Now we only have thing we have left are improvements. And so with this, as we have the basics, we can start working maybe with this one. Again, to do read from file. We can do this one separately. After we've done this one, move on to something else here. Work with the next one. After that, work with next one, slowly improving step by step. Maybe if you want to read these words from file, maybe we need to add an additional method. Maybe for play again, we need to do, again, do everything inside here. Maybe we need to create a separate method. Do while some input is like, do you want to play again, yes or no? Or what we could do is take all of this out and say static void play, and then have everything in there. And in here we could say, we call this play method, and in here we could say do the play process, and then string play again equals scan, no, sorry, not scan, input next line. Or we can just go with do while. For now we have the false, and then we say to do, or we just move this one up here, right? And then we're going to improve it later on. Slowly, step by step, we are improving, we're adding new things, and it's going to be a lot easier because everything's not going to be in a macaroni code. Everything is going to be inside its own function, its own method. Everything will be correctly ordered. So this is a great way, great approach to both solve problems, both have better code, and also learn properly and do things the right way to become a better coder. Thank you for watching this video. See you next time.